Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Dooley J. But hold up, wait a minute. Let me put some sugar in it. Fucking with it, so she outside in the kitchen with my dishes. Wheelie on the folks, the niggas they lame. Hell, yo, we outside blinking. Hold on. I really just blacked out on that intro though. Fuck is niggas talking about? But look, we ain't even gonna get into all that. You hear me though? So listen, we got another bang under the way. I'm like a few months late, but I've been waiting on this video, bro. It's called an Undeniably Canon 5 Nights at Freddy's Timeline Part 3. Now I doubt, well, I mean, maybe a random person could come across this video, you know, you never know. But if you have, we already reacted to the past, like part 1 and part 2. So this shit look decent. So I'm fucking with it. So listen, y'all already know what we getting into. So sit back, relax, and scratch your ass crack, cause yeah, shorty, y'all know the vibes. But other than that, let's get right into it.
Long time no see.
I've been waiting on this though. Yeah.
Are you ready to continue?
Yeah, boy. What's good,
What
my
are you
G?
doing? Some light reading.
I'm over here excited.
Don't spoil
over
yourself.
Here, like,
Allow me to do the hard work for you and continue the most undeniably canon FNAF timeline.
Before I go to work, I gotta look at
ever.
this video, man. Cause low-key, we gotta catch up with the lore. I ain't need no back to y'all.
1985. William Afton, after a long day's work and a 5-minute murder spree, decided to head back out to the dining area of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
Man, I forgot they still got that place open, bro.
However, the entire restaurant was in a panic, as one of the customers caught sight of Henry doing that blank stare thing again. William decided this was the perfect time to finally confront Henry about the $5 he was owed, but out of the corner of his eye, he saw a suspicious boy jump out of the ball pit.
Oh, no.
William had seen this kid before, socializing with some regulars in recent
I thought he was
weeks.
feeling like, you know?
He wasn't typically one to speculate what the patrons were up to, but he strongly felt something was up with this boy in particular. So, he decided to traumatize him for kicks and giggles. William lured the child to the safe room and graced him with the sight of all the freshly stuffed missing children.
Knew he was gonna do
The kid, being reasonably horrified at this, made a mad dash back to the ball pit as William chased after him. Once he dove back in, though, William decided it wasn't worth the trouble of going any further. That ball pit was not pleasant,
really just
so William was just about ready to forfeit the chase, until the ball pit lit up. William realized there was something much more mysterious about this than meets the eye, so he decided to come back to it after making some preparations. The next morning, he got dressed for a potential vacation destination, staged a photo shoot to let Henry have a vague idea of where he was, and donned the spring bodysuit before plunging into the pit.
Who did all that though just to go in the pit? What are you doing, bro? Part 3, shorty.
The year is 2023. Oswald, a boy that had taken advantage of a time-traveling ball pit in a shady pizzeria named Jeff's for the past few weeks, suddenly emerged from it in a panic to be greeted by his confused and upset father. Before his dad could give him a stern talking to, though, William Afton caught him by surprise and dragged him down the depths of the dingy pit to get himself out. William was taken aback at how easily he caught up to Oswald, but figured there must have been some inexplicable time dilation that made things more convenient.
Hold on, we got
With
time dilation going on?
William took Oswald out of the pizzeria, discovered what a GPS was, and took the boy home. Although he was fascinated by his...
I mean, this little boy just comfortably hopped in with this animatronic, like, or opposing, like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Surroundings, he couldn't fully take it all in. He was too focused on the bit. Once they arrived at the house, he sneakily bribed Oswald's mother to play along with this until further notice. After Oswald fell asleep, William decided he felt like snooping in his belongings for the heck of it. After sifting through pages of one of the boy's notebooks, he found drawings of the old Freddy's mascots accompanied by various characters.
That boy a real one. If you know that S sign. I ain't gonna cap. A lot of y'all might be too young for this. I don't know. Look, I'm 24. You might be calling me Unc. I don't give a damn. But gang, this is what a lot of people used to do back in the day, boy.
He didn't recognize.
Damn, I sound old.
William's curiosity of what this was supposed to look like was enough to inspire him. So, he grabbed some spare junk from the garage and began working on a new animatronic to see what would happen. Overnight, William's mess of parts somehow turned into a fully polished masterpiece. However, upon seeing he had created nothing but a conventionally attractive female character, William immediately lost interest. So, he threw her in the trash before going to sleep. The next day, Oswald decided to rescue his father before it was too late. Although William tried his best to stop the boy, Oswald managed to knock him back. William, disoriented, clumsily stumbled into a net and hung himself before Oswald and his dad safely escaped. Fortunately, poor structural integrity came to the suffocating William's rescue. The ball pit's net snapped, launched William down and out the ball pit, and he skyrocketed back into the Freddy's parking lot in 1985 as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, in 2023, local entrepreneur Michael Afton finally organized all of his plans for the revival of Fazbear Entertainment.
Wait, hold on.
He wasn't quite at the point he was hoping for, though, thanks to Hurricane City Council catching that all of his documents showing their approval for different projects had forged signatures. Normally, they'd let this kind of thing slide, but they all had unanimous beef with Freddy's, and
Yeah.
certainly had a means to shut Michael's plans
Please
down.
shut it
Upon
down.
the discovery of training tapes at the wreckage of its most recent disaster, it was made apparent that the company was meant to be finished off for good. Knowing his good looks couldn't get him out of this one, Michael thought of a more practical solution to this problem. So, he quickly tampered with the tapes while nobody was looking.
Pardon me, but if you wouldn't mind rewatching this tape, I do believe you'll find yourselves to be mistaken about the state of the company.
Look, devious sounding
There is need for you to return to work next week, as Fazbear Entertainment is a corporate entity.
Look at that
The
fake
city
ass
council's
video.
hands were tied by this indisputable evidence,
Oh,
and they
nah.
begrudgingly allowed Michael to continue his business ventures.
First thing first, these niggas is dumb. Second, I need clarification. If you actually like watch these videos and y'all be knowing what's going on with the lore, if you know, you know. Put me on game. Are they like currently? I'm assuming right now this is 2023 right now, but like, where's the main timeline at? 2023, right? The shit that we've been on, and when he went to go meet Oswald, that was him going back in time, right? I just want to make sure I'm getting that part right. That's like the one part I got
As long as he
confused,
didn't
bro. That's if
immediately
anybody
build a
know the
giant
lore.
building
You don't know,
over
you
half
just
the
randomly
town.
watching this, the fuck is
So,
going on?
with that, Michael decided to buy out Jeff's Pizzeria, since it was just a crudely repurposed Freddy's location anyway. Using blueprints left in the office, Mike made near-perfect recreations of the classic animatronics. Everything was looking up for Michael, and his efforts rewarded him with massive success. Hearing the cacophony of customers at Freddy's every day made Mike confident in the pizzeria, and now he wanted to pursue a more personal project. After scouting out local scientists, he kidnapped Phineas Taggart to assist him in a new product for Fazbear Entertainment. Michael described his vision to Taggart, a marvelous substance that could violently clone and replace anyone it touched.
Oh,
when
nah.
questioned why he wanted to create such a thing, Michael simply brushed it off as necessary trauma, much like what he had to go through to become a successful entrepreneur.
Okay, but why do we need to make Faz-Goo specifically?
It will build character.
Taggart was somehow satisfied with this answer, and after 26.5 minutes, he had developed the first ever sample of Faz-Goo. Michael was ecstatic at the sight of this creation, but he needed to be sure it worked. Before he could dismiss Taggart, though, the scientist begged him for payment. Mike did not
Bro, get off your knees. Come on.
want to give
Come on.
actual money
Come
to
on.
this guy,
Tighten
so he
up.
just tossed him a robot dog and kicked him out. Meanwhile,
boy.
the rejected
Fucking
animatronic
sad.
from William Afton's
That's so
vacation
sad,
had been
bro.
hauled to the dump. After a while, a stray soul discovered it and decided to call it home. This
Wow,
turned
how
out to be
did that
William's
stray
ex-wife,
soul
Eleanor
work
Schmidt,
all-
who had been kicked out of Molten Freddy during Henry Emily's final blaze of glory.
Oh, she
The
finna
children
spin back.
inhabiting the animatronic mass voted that Eleanor didn't deserve to move on with them. So,
so they
they
kicked
quickly
up-
ejected her so she'd be stuck in this plane of
They
existence
say, get your
indefinitely.
stupid ass out.
After recollecting herself after all this time spent sitting in the backseat of Ennard, she gathered that this animatronic had no discernible characterization prior to her possession. So, having the full jurisdiction to present as any name she pleased, she decided to just go by Eleanor. While adjusting to her new body, Eleanor
Hey, ain't that
realized
an
that her
anime
dress
nigga
had a
name, or am I
feature she
tripping?
only thought was possible in her wildest dreams. It had pockets! She needed to make use of these immediately, so she quickly looked around the junkyard for something worthy to put inside them. Her eyes were drawn to a pile of strange discs within the trunk of an old car, so Eleanor went ahead and grabbed them. Upon taking them, however, the sound waves these discs emitted granted her with cosmic power beyond her human understanding.
Oh, so here we go with the power scaling. They say Shorty just hit some misconceptual shit. Nah, let me stop. But nah, that's what they trying to hit that path
Eleanor,
now.
realizing she could do
heading down that
anything she
path.
desired,
Huh.
immediately teleported to her
Wait,
old
wait, wait,
accounting.
what's the power?
Eleanor, realizing she could do anything she desired, immediately teleported to her old accounting firm, expecting to get right back to work. Her old
Nigga,
boss
she could
was
just
bewildered
teleport
at the
like
sight
that?
of her again and grimly told her she was laid off and replaced 38 years prior. She did not take this news well. Filled with sudden rage, Eleanor killed her former boss and was
Ooh.
quickly enamored by the
Hey,
power
hold
his
on.
agony fueled her with. She became obsessed with feeding on more of this, so she started plotting what to do next. Now holding a grudge
Oh,
against
I like this
basically
one.
any businessman at this point, she targeted every major corporation she could think of and obliterated all of the people in charge of them.
Why she?
Now filled with triple the infinite power she had already, Eleanor was ready to claim victory as the greatest evil the world has ever known. To her surprise, though, basically everyone on Earth that was subjected
Is
to
that a
these
villager?
corporations
Nigga,
was
what's up
happy
with
about their immediate quality of life boost, and Eleanor was hailed as a benevolent revolutionary, siphoning the agony right out of her with their collective joy. Becoming the hero of the
What?
working class was not what Eleanor had in mind.
That's what I'm
Although
saying.
she kind of enjoyed the respect, that didn't do anything for her newfound hunger, and she needed to cause more problems.
Then go to
avoid
Freddy's
repeating the
Faz-Bears,
same mistake
man.
as before, she decided to keep things local. Drawing inspiration from how her ex-husband managed to discover Remnant, she warped to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to do what William did. but better. However, as she approached the front door, Michael caught sight of her and immediately grew suspicious.
Ooh.
Who are you, and what are you doing here?
It's me, your mother. No hard feelings about the scooping incident?
See, look, he better be cool with her, shorty.
No matter. I'm here to massacre all of your patrons for personal satisfaction.
How predictable.
Being called out on the spot like that really got under Eleanor's skin.
Hell.
She would have murdered Michael out of spite in any other circumstance, but given she did owe him after the scooping incident, she let this personal attack slide. Eleanor needed to prove Mike wrong, though, so she decided to pull asinine stunts nobody would ever think to do. After that, an unlucky child just so happened to pass by Eleanor's line of sight, and Eleanor decided this kid was the perfect first victim to truly test her power. The child, named Sarah, was minding her own business as Eleanor followed her closely. As Sarah approached the suspiciously plot-relevant dump, Eleanor warped to the trunk she found before for the girl to notice her. Sarah was incredibly transfixed with the animatronic's beauty, and excitedly carried her home to use as a display piece or something. At night, Eleanor figured this would be the perfect time to activate and begin her plan. She promised Sarah that she could make her wildest dream come true. To be beautiful. Sarah, not understanding that she was perfectly fine the way she was, immediately agreed to this proposal. However, Eleanor told her she needed to forever wear her pendant for this to work. Over the next several days, Sarah was completely transformed. She became much more popular, much more confident in her looks, and much more paranoid that something would go wrong. And go wrong something did. With just one slip on a comically placed banana peel, Eleanor's pendant flew right off of Sarah's neck. To Sarah's terror, Eleanor was actually replacing her body with chunks of scrap metal, and the pendant was all that kept her hollow metallic membrane together. Sarah desperately ran back home to try and beg for Eleanor's help, to which the animatronic welcomed her by shifting into a look-alike of the girl's original body. Had she survived, Sarah may have gleaned some sort of moral from this whole ordeal, but unfortunately she had completely fallen apart into a miserable pile of scraps. Eleanor retrieved her pendant, now charged with terrible agony once again. With this boost in power, she was ready to take on the entire population of Hurricane in increasingly strange and specific ways. Meanwhile, Phineas Taggart was on a personal hunt for random junk. This particular night led him to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place, now in a sinkhole, where William, Afton, and Andrew just sat around playing Uno. Andrew's anger at William had settled quite a bit. All he had to do was scream into some trash, and soon enough he hadn't a clue why he was mad in the first place. Unfortunately, the trespassing Taggart wound up interrupting their game and slammed his robot dog onto Andrew's spirit, tethering his remnant to the toy's battery. William looked up at the man in mild distress. To avoid being tackled, tased, or anything else, he hastily got up and followed the man wherever he was going. On that note, Taggart arrived at his lab with his new trinkets, and Andrew infested Fetch, and William Afton. Taggart didn't initially plan on anything special for the junk he was collecting, but finding a stray soul and an animatronic zombie truly motivated him to try and do something spectacular with it. To his amusement, said zombie was absolutely hideous, and Taggart just had to make William's unsightliness known to him.
Oh, please. I can't look at that.
Terrified of the sight of his suit being horrendously burnt and broken, William accidentally death stared his reflection and he exploded. Taggart, delighted by the sudden haunted gunk all over his treasures, decided to take advantage of this and mash them all together into a new creation. This new animatronic not only merged the souls of William and Andrew into one body, it also introduced a third spirit into the mix. This was a child named Jake, whose death shockingly had nothing to do with Afton or Freddy's. With his good temperament compared to the other two, he got to pilot the animatronic, while William and Andrew were stuck being backseat drivers. Taggart was delighted at his Stitchwraith, but the story was short-lived as William convinced Jake to slap the mad scientist. As it turned out, Afton's presence within the animatronic killed Phineas Taggart on the spot. Jake was absolutely horrified about this, but Andrew wasn't particularly bothered about it. After surveying the damage, they deduced that they should just wait for someone else to handle it. So, they sat there and waited until a garbage collector found them. Sure enough, though, the mere touch of the Stitchwraith was all it took to kill this guy, too. Immediately, Jake realized who was responsible for this. William had already been giving off bad vibes, but now he looked blatantly proud of himself. When Jake tried to explain this, though,
I told you I gotta boom that nigga, man.
What's so bad about him? He cheated at Uno once.
He literally killed 2 people just now!
Lies and slander.
No, I did do that. As a matter of fact, I killed you, too.
See what his ass for, he don't get no damn.
Jake needed to solve this fast. After some internal bickering, he learned about Andrew screaming into stuff to release his rage. With that information, Jake reasoned that putting those pieces back together could potentially refresh Andrew's memory. He'd remember why William was a problem, and they could finally get rid of the purple parasite. After a few weeks of running around on a garbage hunt, and with only a few extra casualties,
is that Luigi?
the Stitchwraith headed to an abandoned factory to use its trash compactor on its collection. Suddenly, intruding on the scene was Detective Everett Larson, who had been tracking down the Stitchwraith this entire time to try and cope with his divorce or something. As Larson prepared to shoot it down, Jake suddenly caught notice of him and backflipped into the trash compactor in an act of defiance. As the Stitchwraith crumpled together with all the junk, Andrew finally remembered what he was so angry at William Afton about. What? He was just about ready to throw hands with his killer once more, but he quickly gathered he may have been out of his league. After the Stitchwraith flipped into the trash heap, William's soul transferred to the garbage and began forging it all together into a new body. After causing a chain reaction with the old machinery, William blew up the factory and used its debris to his advantage, growing into a 15-foot-tall monstrosity. Making the decision to cut his losses, Andrew quietly made a run for it while he still could. Larson, shocked at how dramatically the situation escalated, spent this valuable time throwing insults at the giant trash rabbit. William
Niggas just walked up to him and said, "I'm finna bake his ass." Like that's gonna make it any better. What are you doing, nigga?
Wasn't fazed by this though, and simply proclaimed,
"I am agony!"
Did somebody say agony?
Eleanor was there too, apparently. After learning of the Afton amalgamation's existence, she quickly launched herself into it to try and absorb its power. This caused Afton to become far more violent, and Larson was nearly killed by the amalgamation. Before it could finish him off though, he began hearing a voice coming from his bag. It was the mask of the puppet, or at least his delirious mind figured it must have been. Nonetheless, he tossed it at Afton's shins, and the impact caused him to fall apart like a house of cards. As Afton sank into the lake near the wreckage, he noticed Eleanor escaping his collapsing body, and he recognized her instantly. Not only was she his abandoned creation from his time travel vacation, he felt the spite emanating from her, and knew it could be only one person. The woman who he once probably loved, then definitely hated, had managed to become far more than he ever was. And so, he looked at her in bittersweet longing before everything faded to black. William Afton was dead. Now that the amalgamation was destroyed, the Stitchwraith ran to Larson's aid. Jake was all on his own now, and he wasn't going to let anyone else die. So, he whacked the detective with his battery, and that got rid of the lingering agony left behind by Afton. Now that Larson was a little less half-dead than before, he immediately tried to fight Eleanor. She wasn't impressed by his endeavor, and she dragged him into a highlight reel inside her mind.
Your investigations, your hunt for the Stitchwraith, your failed marriage.
Damn!
Was behind it.
She trying to make your ass cry. Hold on.
I guess.
Oh, I thought I was being more obvious. Sorry. Anyway, it was me all along. You didn't know it, Larson, but I was always there.
Was she really though? Nigga, I know you lying. So she created that one. Damn, she just been on some stuff, nigga. Oh, nigga, I knew she was gonna be nigga. You ain't think to look up to see who this was? But you know
Larson,
what? She transcended our human understanding of what they say, so she probably made herself
immediately shot Eleanor 4 times in a row. This managed to disorient her enough to warp to another memory, where Larson then grabbed a baseball bat and bashed her head. This went on in a loop for a while, weakening Eleanor, but also not accomplishing.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, I fuck with Gang. He said I ain't wasting no time. Pull out the hammer. Get the whack in her. Fuck is he talking about?
Too much otherwise.
Sorry for
From
my
an
language, man,
but Larson and Eleanor just stayed in one place silently. The Stitchwraith was bored of waiting, so Jake decided to see what would happen if he tried to interact with Eleanor without Afton infecting his touch.
Part 3, my favorite one.
This allowed the Stitchwraith to peer into her memories. While Larson and Eleanor were still having their grand battle, Jake discovered Eleanor's worst memory.
I heard Billy D. Williams was in this one.
Who, nigga?
Oops. Spoilers.
Confused by what the problem here was, but nonetheless undeterred, the Stitchwraith grabbed Eleanor and launched her into the memory to be stuck forever. Now that Jake had saved the planet from Eleanor's wrath, he felt fulfilled in his purpose. With that, he moved on from this world, and the Stitchwraith was no more.
Damn.
Larson, now sitting alone in the wreckage of a factory with 2 lifeless animatronics in front of him, deliberated what to do now.
Yeah, what
he knew this was going to cause a big stink for the police department if he didn't have a believable explanation on hand. So he just tossed Eleanor and the Stitchwraith's bodies into the ball pit at Freddy's and blamed their hijinks on Faz for entertainment.
And watch how they
Michael Afton, now facing immense backlash for reviving the company, had to figure out a way to save its reputation before it collapsed all over again. He checked his plans for anything that could help him, and to his relief, there was a perfect solution. All Mike had to do was cover up these allegations by touting them as fictional events from a video game series. After interrogating his board of directors to see if any of them knew how to make a game, one of them spoke up and said they knew of someone that could. This led Michael to a failed indie developer with a desolate hope for success, Steve Snodgrass. Steve's only claim to fame was a critically panned promotional title for Elk Chips, but Mike could feel the potential oozing from this creator. Steve just needed a spark, and Michael gave him lightning. Steve, ecstatic at the opportunity to make appropriate use of his uncanny modeling style, quickly whipped up a game called Five Nights at Freddy's. It was pretty simple, but Michael thought it was a perfect starting point. After Steve posted this game under the guise that it was totally unauthorized, it immediately skyrocketed in popularity. People were playing it left and right, and most importantly, those curious about the game's hidden lore started to confuse historical fact from modern fiction.
Well, nigga, this is me right now. What the hell?
Michael needed Steve to make a sequel, fast. Steve then churned out 2 more in only a couple days to resounding success. Mike realized quickly, though, that these games weren't actually helping with the current controversy the company was facing. Whatever skeletons were once in Henry's closet were of no concern to him. So Mike decided to assassinate Steve Snodgrass and cover up his death with a fan-made spin-off title.
Why the fuck did you, why did you work with him to, alright.
With that taken care of, Mike quickly commissioned an anthology book series to spoof recent incidents with Eleanor and the Stitchwraith. Despite the fact everyone knew about these public menaces, the prospect of reading about them made the public immediately stop.
Okay, hold on. Not the killing. I'm talking like the books and stuff, like them making a spin-off based off Eleanor. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, is that true? Because the game.
All Michael needed to do now was to tie it all back together by framing Steve Snodgrass as some random lunatic trying to deface his brand. So, he commissioned a studio called Silver Parasol to make a virtual reality game that cemented all of the rumors of Fazbear Entertainment as nothing more than fiction. Development was pretty standard, all things considered. The studio focused on remaking all 3 of the original FNAF games in VR, and then Michael personally provided them with scribblings of his own life experiences to use as inspiration for new levels. Alongside this, he also tossed them various circuit boards, notably from Scrap Trap and some old endoskeleton hardware. He told the developers that helped make the characters perform in Pathfind or authentically in-game, to which everyone collectively told him that's not how it works. After some gentle negotiation, Michael convinced the team to scan the circuit boards anyway. This didn't seem to really accomplish anything initially, but soon something awakened within the VR game that nobody yet knew about. William Afton, against all odds, came back from complete eradication again due to lingering remnant on Scrap Trap circuit boards possessing a...
Ultron. I'm finna start saying, look, hashtag, hold on, cause see, I'm slurring my words. I'm gonna start saying hashtag William Afton is Ultron, my nigga. That's what I'm gonna start doing. I'm probably gonna put that at the bottom of this video, bro. Hashtag William Afton is Ultron. Cause like, bro, what the hell?
Program called Mimic One. Observing the virtual space around him, William started digging through files to obtain a more tangible form. To his disappointment, he wasn't all too pleased with any of the Spring Bonnie or Springtrap models available to him. So, instead, William used the power of 3D modeling software to manifest a digital recreation of his wonderful pajamas.
No, you're like, smart.
To save his new form, he overwrote an unused Springtrap model named Glitchtrap and decided that worked perfectly for his new environment. He was considering the name Malhair, but he had no idea how to rename the files, so he just settled with what he had. As production continued and beta tests began, Glitchtrap encountered Jeremy Fitzgerald II, the security guard Balloon Boy chewed on once. Now working as a QA tester, Jeremy tried to write off Glitchtrap as nothing more than a bug. As time went on though, he wound up being captivated by the virtual rabbit rattling off nitpicks about the game's character models and level maps. Jeremy agreed that this was a problem, and he promised Glitchtrap that he'd set things right and make the VR game as accurate as he could. The other developers, however, felt insulted by the sudden onslaught of criticism Jeremy provided. None of it seemed rational or helpful, so they all conspired to get rid of him. After finding
game breaking. What that say?
None of it seemed rational
game
or helpful.
Problems. Bonnie is blue, should be purple. Nightmare chambers are Jesus.
So they all conspired to get rid of him. After finding a guillotine paper cutter, the Silver Parasol development team cut off Jeremy's face and made it look like he did it in a fit of hysteria. Jeremy didn't really appreciate this, so he finally quit his job as a QA tester and sued Silver Parasol for cutting off his face. With his position now open, a successor dubiously named Tape Girl took his place. Tape Girl, much like Jeremy, was also unusually intertwined with the history of Fazbear Entertainment. Her brother, Phone Dude, had sucked her into a passionate interest in the company while he constructed Fazbear's Fright. Now that he had gone missing, she decided to pick up his slack and participate in the company's current renaissance. Glitchtrap, upon seeing Tape Girl, recognized her as one of Phone Guy's children and reasoned that she wasn't to be trusted. He had been burned by both her father and brother already, and he wasn't going to let that happen again. So, Glitchtrap went out of his way to freak her out as much as possible while she tried to test the game. Becoming terrified of this anomaly, and discovering that Silver Parasol was shutting down due to Jeremy's lawsuit, she hastily began to record audio logs documenting Glitchtrap's presence and other details that could help whatever QA tester replaced her. As she continued attempting to delete the anomaly from the game, Glitchtrap devised a plan to attach himself to her virtual tapes in order to prevent her from killing him. By the time she figured this out, it was too late. So she hid the audio.
Sorry, this nigga William has the most fucking, what is it, like he's just so OP and broken, bro. Like
audio files across the game as well as she could before development was switched over. Glitchtrap wasn't going to let Tape Girl go that easy though. So on her last day on the job, he created a brand new level meant just for her. As Tape Girl followed his bunny trail, she soon realized that he was the one responsible for the murders that plagued Freddy's all along. Feeling more and more tangled within the virtual reality, Tape Girl soon found herself trapped within the suit of Freddy Fazbear as Glitchtrap celebrated her digital demise. Now that Silver Parasol was no longer developing a Fazbear virtual experience, Michael wiped all known traces of the company and its employees from existence. The replacement studio was run directly by Fazbear Entertainment, and they sent out some help-wanted ads to get fresh beta testers. Soon enough, a new hire caught wind of the job opportunity and applied as soon as possible. This applicant was a passionate Five Nights at Freddy's fan named Vanessa Shelley. Vanessa was extremely excited to get the chance to test a brand new FNAF game. She wasn't confident that the new studio would uphold the franchise's integrity from the Snodgrass trilogy, but she chose to be optimistic. After putting on the headset for the first time, Vanessa excitedly combed through the entire game with almost nothing but enthusiasm. Experiencing her favorite series in total immersion was a feeling like no other, and she was having a blast. She was a little disappointed that most of the lore elements were seemingly gutted here, but that was a small price to pay compared to everything else. As she continued, though, she noticed some strange glitches throughout the various levels. Maybe this was some kind of new storyline she was unraveling. After discovering a hidden area within the game, Vanessa was able to piece together Tape Girl's recordings and discover the truth. To her horror, this wasn't just new lore, this was real. Upon this realization, Vanessa felt a shiver down her spine as she turned around to see a certain someone behind her.
This ain't no game. All this shit happened. Look at that nigga.
Shake it, Curly Pop!
Boy.
What? You don't like the voice?
Slow down. Slow down.
Better?
British!
After Vanessa took a short break to recover from that scare, she hesitantly put her headset back on and continued testing the game. As she played, she noticed that Glitchtrap became more tangible as she found more of Tape Girl's messages. Vanessa was uneasy, but she decided that maybe it would be best to actually talk to the anomaly. Glitchtrap stood before her in relative silence, so she took this as a cue to speak. What started with conversation of her experience testing the game led to her entire interpretation of the FNAF timeline, including every ounce of external media she was aware of.
And then when Springtrap found him, he did a spot-on impression of the stepdad and then later stuffed him into an oven in Fazbear's Frights, and I think the actual place put down, but it didn't have
Who on earth is handsome?
Glitchtrap had heard enough. Whatever nonsense Vanessa was recounting was absolutely nothing like what actually happened. So he caught her up to speed on the actual events of his life, from Ferdinand's creation to Afton's amalgamation eradication. Vanessa was over the moon. She never could have anticipated getting such a comprehensive understanding of all of Freddy's history, and she was shocked at how different the real answers were compared to the storyline FNAF games portrayed. At this point, she decided she wanted to help Glitchtrap somehow escape the game. So, like any rational person, Vanessa decided to let Glitchtrap merge with her mind.
You dumb motherfucker.
Headset,
Yo,
Vanessa now saw
you got that damn excited that he told you the lore? You said, fuck it, I'm gonna let you out? Are you dumb?
By her side in the real world.
Hey, sup, man?
No, I think the other voice was better, actually.
You are so picky.
Afton, now inhabiting Vanessa's brain, wasn't keen on being confined in someone else's body again, so he begged her to help him find a new body for herself. After thinking through everything he had told her, Vanessa decided that she'd make her own personalized rabbit suit to keep William quiet while they tried to get him back into a physical form. Because that'd take a while, however, she simply crafted a mask in time for the Halloween festival Freddy's was putting together.
Know they're not even gonna know if somebody dresses up.
Afton was preparing something big. He had been postponing his plans to make an animatronic father figure long enough, and it was time to finally set things in motion. He needed a perfect vessel, though, something his own father created. After some consideration, Michael took a visit to the graveyard and dug up the original Fredbear's body. He was going to revive the animatronic and make him into the perfect Papa Bear.
Freddy!
Unsure of how to go about reviving an artificial intelligence, Mike figured that obscene amounts of electricity would do the trick. So he crudely stitched Fredbear back together and ran some tests to try and bring him back to life. And it was a success. Michael had let time slip right past him, though. The Fazbear Fall Fest was only in a few days, and he had yet to make the perfect attraction for it. All at once, it dawned on him that he could present the revived animatronic as Fredbear until he could fix him up properly. Sure enough, this worked perfectly, and at long last, Fredbear was the star of the show for the first time in decades. While attending the festival, Vanessa ruminated on her recent life choices. As she half-heartedly participated in the various attractions, William finally learned that Michael's behind all of this. For the first time in his unnaturally prolonged existence, he finally felt somewhat proud of his son. Before he could stew over this new emotion, though, Vanessa accidentally bumped right into the entrepreneur. Vanessa, utterly embarrassed, began to profusely apologize, to which Mike just blankly stared at her, waiting for her to go away. This led to Vanessa rambling once more about her obsession with his company, only this time she had all of William's knowledge at her disposal. Michael, initially uninterested, was taken aback by Vanessa's inexplicable understanding of Fazbear Entertainment's history. After evaluating whether or not to dispose of her, he determined she would be useful and gave her a new job of special attention. Vanessa was now part of a security team for a new project Mike was working on, the Fazbear Funtime service. This was a special delivery service where Fazbear Entertainment mass-produced replicas of some of the most iconic characters from the business's legacy and rented them out for criminally high prices. Vanessa was fascinated by this concept, and William realized this would be the perfect way to get a recreation of his favorite fursuit. So, on Vanessa's first day as security, she hacked into the system with her gamer skills and ordered production of Springtrap animatronics. By the time higher-ups noticed something unusual about this, they all shrugged it off since Springtrap was probably profitable enough to rent out. William was thrilled that his body had been perfectly remade, but he got cold feet once he realized Fazbear Entertainment was producing so much of him. He didn't want to just be another Springtrap in the crowd, he wanted to be in the spotlight. Vanessa was confused about him changing his mind, though, and they began to bicker about the integrity of a unique Springtrap. Getting fed up with this, Vanessa tried banging her head against one of the replicas to attempt to transfer. This ended up knocking her out, giving William free rein to puppet her body. Knowing this could come in handy for future schemes, he quickly searched how to induce compliance in human subjects to ensure he could do this whenever it benefited him. This, alongside some other concerning web searches, alerted the IT department immediately. Unfortunately, the only guy who cared to contact Vanessa about it, Lewis, was more interested in coffee than figuring out why she wanted to chop people in half. By the time Vanessa came to, she didn't have any recollection of the stunts William was pulling, and simply resumed her normal work activity. Anytime William took control again, though, Lewis would shoot another email wondering why Vanessa wasn't taking the hint. This led to a lot of one-sided conversation and coffee invitations, but outside of that, Funtime service was doing great. People were renting animatronics constantly, and the funds gained from this inspired Michael to start offering additional characters and quirky variants of the existing ones. There was only one problem. Aside from the occasional fatality from letting infamously killer animatronics out in public, delivery trucks for both animatronics and pizza started being attacked by bears. To Michael's surprise, bears absolutely adored the taste of pizza and despised Fazbear animatronics. This was all thanks to their overlord, Ferdinand von Bernard. Although artificial, Ferdinand's cosmic power allowed him to integrate perfectly into bear society.
Cosmic power? Are you trolling, nigga?
His appearance indicated to bears across the world that he was something special for their kind, and he provided them all with wisdom beyond their years. The most important thing Ferdinand taught them, however, was to hold a grudge against Fazbear Entertainment. Being left behind and replaced by his creators was one thing, but his arch-nemesis, Michael, becoming CEO of the company was another. Michael was losing at least 5 delivery drivers a day from these bear attacks, and paying off the lawsuits from this was the final straw. So he met with Vanessa in private and brought up her previous security breach on the Fazbear Funtime service. She was immediately terrified that she'd get fired, but on the contrary, Michael explained that he needed her to covertly program an order for war. After further instruction, Vanessa hacked into the funtime service yet again to order the animatronics to attack all of Bearkind. With just a push of a button, the Great Bear War began. Animatronic and Ursine fiercely clashed against each other within moments.
Who y'all got?
Bears that could react stormed to the front lines wherever they could, and soon two allies were
I got them two white. Oh yeah, them niggas on 10. Shorty, them niggas on all 10. They in the back lines. We got 3 of our real niggas in the front lines. We in the back with them dukes up, nigga. What's up? Yo, I'm rocking with them niggas, man.
It was Trevor the cashier and Harold the janitor, otherwise known as Shadow Freddy and Rick Faz-Goo. Both of them had just been...
Do y'all see that name in the closed caption?
Cashier and Harold the janitor, otherwise known as Shadow Freddy and Rick Faz-Goo.
I don't know how he pronounced that. You are the GOAT for that.
Both of them had just been fired from their former jobs at Freddy's, and Michael had completely gutted their pension. Rick Faz-Goo tortured one patron for cheating at Pack and Pal, and that managed to cross the line, apparently. Shadow Freddy didn't want to work at Freddy's without his partner, so Mike fired him too just so he couldn't formally quit. With nothing to lose, Shadow Freddy and Rick Faz-Goo tried to assist the war effort to rebel against Michael.
Winning.
Sadly, as Shadow Freddy attempted to manage the Bears to victory, he was obliterated by a barrage of fireworks. As Shadow Freddy's dark remnant scattered across Hurricane, Rick Faz-Goo's rage grew so powerful that he managed to shut down the Funtime Service's servers and end the bloodshed. This was too little too late, sadly, and he set off on a hopeless quest to recollect his partner and bring him back.
Well, damn, everybody
discovering
died.
Mike had nearly obliterated his people, he had to do something to fix this. After phasing through realities to forge the perfect plan, Ferdinand understood what needed to be done. For safekeeping, Ferdinand warped all bears across time and space to a new dimension he called Paradise, and waited for the stars to align in his favor.
Just looking at this nigga Ferdinand, after hearing how OP it is, gotta be the funniest combo. Like, looking at the nigga, you wouldn't even think he could do this. Like, what?
Now that bears were seemingly extinct, Michael had no real threat to his business. Additionally, his overall corporate success caught the attention of every major company in the country. The power vacuum they all shared from Eleanor's massacre allowed for Mike to buy all of them out for cheap, and Fazbear Entertainment became a mega corporation within the blink of an eye. With this, the stage was finally set for Michael to build the mega pizzaplex of his dreams, and Hurricane City Council couldn't say no this time. Michael was proud of Vanessa for her cooperation, and despite her not really being qualified for any promotion, he ordered his board of directors to transfer her to the head of security at the Pizzaplex once construction was complete. It would take time for this project to finish, but Michael was absolutely certain that it'd be nothing short of his magnum opus. For now, he was left to contemplate his two personal projects. Dreadbear had been a great novelty for the Fall Fest, but his body's disrepair was not sustainable for a long-term business. So, Mike harvested Dreadbear's AI to use within a brand new animatronic, a glam rock reimagining of Freddy Fazbear. All Mike needed now was to finally use his Faz-Goo for its true purpose. With confirmation from shady science teachers across the country that the substance worked, Mike was confident his most unattainable dream would come to fruition. Now, exploring every nook and cranny of Hurricane, he searched for the remnant he had coughed up after the pizza place fire in order to bring his younger brother back. Soon after vaporizing Rick Faz-Goo with a flashlight, Michael finally found what he was looking for. A chaotic energy emanated from the newest remnant deposit he discovered, and he knew he found him. Capturing the remnant and returning home, Michael guided the child's soul to the Faz-Goo and watched as the boy was finally put back together. Now that his brother actually existed again, the fog lifted. After all this time, Michael could finally remember the child's name. Gregory Afton.
So after this whole time, he brought this little nigga back. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I'm just not catching on now.
Alright, I hope
I already knew he was at the end, but that's still some bullshit. I want some more of this boy. I ain't gonna bat.
Finale? Is security breach the end?
Wait.
Yep, nothing else. No secret up my sleeve. It all ends with... you'll see. Catch you next time.
Okay. Okay. Hey, shout out to the YouTube again. Let me get out the full screen. I forget his name. The Oof Troop. I don't think I've ever said his name probably except once. Bro, y'all know I always link his video. He always drop these these detailed ass lore videos. But listen, if you made it to the end, and of course if you like a fan of these FNAF like recaps, you let me know what was like your favorite part when you first learned it, or if this is your first time learning the lore, and like you let me know what was your like wazoo moment, like a crazy ass like what the hell moment. For me, boy, it was a lot of stuff. I mean, further than that, I didn't even think Buddy had cosmic powers. I didn't think Eleanor, shorty, I didn't think she was like that either. I ain't know what, bro. They turning up now. They turning up a notch, but on front of them, I'm liking it. But listen, y'all know I'm finna hit the motherfucking deuces. Shout out to all my dogs, nigga ain't no cruises. Shout out to all my bitches, hell yeah, they hit the slewing. Damn, I kinda fucked up the vibes on that one. I fucked it up, y'all. Does this mean we gotta kinda hang up the hat? Ain't that what they say? They say hang up the hat, right? Like I think it's time for that. Damn. It's kinda, it happens here enough. My outro bars get fucked up. Look, at least the intro was hard. Shout out to all my dogs, nigga Boulevard. Seen a badass bitch pull up in a rent-a-car. Never gave a fuck about you, Shreddy. I just been a star. I just seen a bad bitch, nigga. I'ma go hard. Looking like at the end of the sun, nigga. You know what I'm saying? But listen, though. Dooley J out without a doubt, nigga. And, yeah, y'all know the vibes.